In 2004, CSA made the move from St. John's Lutheran Church to the Centrum Mall in downtown Marion. Later that year, Mark Fauser became CSA's 5th executive director and continued the dream of excellence in the arts started by Marla Kepler almost a decade earlier.
And then Mark Fauser came on board, and I think probably between having Mark come on the board and also Jamie Bragg asking to come under our umbrella for La Dance or for the dancing area really was a big push. And all of a sudden, lots of people started hearing about us, and we had a great fundraiser that's also exposed us. And so here we are now.
I think one of our centerpiece teachers is Jamie Bragg. She had her own dance studio for 23 years called La Dance. She's a person that I thought was a very passionate teacher, and she kind of brought massive numbers to our group.
When we did make the move to Centrum, and again, this was really Mark's vision, because I probably would have still been on 14th Street if I was still running it. But it just opened up. A lot more people were aware of us, and with Jamie coming back in and doing dance, people that really didn't realize the visual arts now were able to see that possibility. Of course, people were starting to buy into the idea of, I could teach this, or I can offer that. We had the theater area start coming into use as well. So it really, really was a big step, because we were closer to downtown, and all of a sudden you just had a lot more traffic.
In my estimation, that was our biggest time of growth, from the first few small years in the basement of the church to moving to a larger place. Certainly allowed us to have more classes. During that time, Mark was instrumental in contacting so many different people, and I guess in some ways expanding what art is and what art was to our community. I think during those years at the Centrum, it was a time of really changing the community's mindset as to what students who want to pursue things in the arts, what that truly meant.
I would say that that's probably when I became most involved, was once they had just moved to the Centrum Mall, and we were really starting to take off with a variety of classes. I think that's really when dance got introduced, was at that point. So I don't really recall being involved actually per se in the transition, but I was involved very early in the process of being there at the Centrum Mall.
My name is Carol Hamilton, and I was involved with CSA for around 10 or 11 years. Well, from the time practically, I think the second year I came on the board, I became their secretary, and so it involved a lot of meetings and things like that, and at the same time I started co-chairing the famous Go Arts Go Kart race with Don Darga, and so it's just made a big impact.
Even though our community school does offer a lot as far as the arts, funding was going down, and it was a wonderful alternative to public education. I'm so glad to see kids be able to show their talents, engage in their passions at CSA.
One of my favorite memories or remembrances, when we moved to the Centrum, Jamie Bragg had no longer had her dance group, and she decided she wanted to come back under the School of the Arts and not have all the hassles with running your own school. And so she came on, and we were able to offer 2 students from each elementary school 6 weeks of free tap lessons. And so we went around, and the teachers gave us the names, and we found people that donated tap shoes, and these kids took 6 weeks of free tap lessons, and then we went to the Civic Theater, and they had a little recital. It was just one of the best experiences I can remember, and they probably would never have had that opportunity. Their their families were so proud to see them on stage. We went very simple on the costumes, and yet it was just, it still gives me chills when I realize how great it was. I know now that they're doing even more of these scholarships, but that was a big thing at that time.
Well, I would say it made all the difference in the world. It certainly gave more room to be able to do things. So it was a lot of growth at once, I think. All in all, it was still a fun time to be involved and to see things grow as it did.
Another exciting development for CSA at this time was an increase in scholarship funding through several generous donations from famed philanthropist Penelope Knight, wife of Nike co-founder Phil Knight. Through these donations, the Alex L. Parks Scholarship Fund was created in honor of Mrs. Knight's father.
So that was a game changer. $250,000 for a school that had to have a board member pay for the phone line, that was a big game changer.
Well, I think it probably was very beneficial in keeping the school going and giving scholarships, yes, it certainly was a wonderful gift and was very much appreciated, I know, at the time by everyone involved with the school.
That was at the same time that we were able to find more teachers, find more space, do better advertising, bigger advertising, more advertising, and offer scholarships. I mean, the scholarships were just incredibly valuable, and that opportunity really touched lots of lives.
During our time at the Centrum Mall, CSA began creating original shows to highlight our talented students and give them more performance opportunities. Over the years, CSA welcomed many special guest artists to share the stage with our students.
And the other thing I really love is all of the talent that we brought in here for our kids to experience from New York and West Coast, and it was just been amazing.
Well, it's something that had never happened before in Marion, Indiana. We just didn't have that opportunity, I don't think, to work with people like that and to meet people like that and to be trained by the stars. So it was just an amazing, exciting time.
During the time we were in the Centrum, certainly under Mark Fauser's leadership, was the time where students felt like they could be anybody they wanted to be. One of the strengths that he brought to the school was the capacity to create everything from the start all the way to the finish. He is brilliant in being able to take a student's ideas inside their mind and transfer that onto paper. He allowed them to be creative with their writing and their character building, and he brought in people that only Mark Fauser could bring in. He was allowed to access the stars and people that we would see on television sitting right beside me. And I got to act on stage with some of the stars that Disney had on the television at that very time. It was surreal, it was exciting, and to watch the little kids' eyes, especially when John D'Aquino was here, because he was on television in those years, and so they would see this person that they only saw on their television come up and hug them and high-five them and tell them good job and teach them and coach them. And it was just a very, very special time, and it was something that only Mark could do. He is the one and only person in this community that could bring those experiences to our youth, and he did it with passion and fervor and energy that nobody else could have at that point too. I remember being very tired in those years, long hours, lots of after hours meetings in his house in and in the Centrum, and lots of banter and discussion and laughter and tears and all of the things that performance brings. But it was an exciting time when we were at the Centrum, just a huge time of growth.
In 2008, Executive Director Mark Fauser collaborated with Carey Services to create an exciting new acting class for students with special needs. Face Place.
Matt, you step up. Yes, sir. Okay, and everybody's going to be great and smiling and happy, right? Are we happy? Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Mark is like my favorite person that I really love because he's my favorite teacher that I can trust him to do things with me, and it means a lot of things to him and me both.
Mark Fauser got me to say, yes, you can do it, you just gotta try.
Oh man, he's a funny man. He's a wonderful teacher. I like Mark Fauser a lot.
Full speed ahead, Miss Marion! Yes.
We felt that through art we could get them to show body language, facial expression, and voice, and get them to understand how they come across.
That's what you're gonna do!
And that's another thing where I've seen so many miracles that never in a million years would I think they would be up performing. And now they're like the head of the shows because they're part of our family, they're part of the community. So when they get up there, their self-esteem goes through the roof because they know everybody's rooting for them. And they feel such a sense of accomplishment and belonging.